I moved to Cedar Ridge for silence. 40 acres of woodland, heavy with fog and wildflowers, untouched for decades. My father left it to me with a single rule: protect the land, and the land will protect you. I believed him. I kept to myself, raised bees, and lived quietly. That was before she arrived. Karen Mallory, president of the HOA. She wore power like perfume. She was the type of woman who never knocked, only announced herself. I saw her twice before it all started, once at the farmer's market, staring too long at my jars of honey, and once outside my gate, writing something on a clipboard. She didn't wave. She just smiled. A week later, I heard engines. More than one. A crowd of them, cars, RVs, a bus even, rolling through the road that led only to my land. I stepped outside and saw them, tents being pitched on my field, people unloading coolers, music blaring. My "no trespassing" signs were torn down like decorations after a party. Karen stood in the center, wine glass in hand, sunglasses reflecting the campfires. I demanded to know what was happening. She handed me a flyer. Community camp night. Everyone is welcome. Fresh land, fresh air. It was signed, HOA approved. She told me that nature belonged to everyone. She said land had no meaning unless people walked on it. She said that I was selfish to keep so many acres, closed off to life. And while her voice was cruel, her eyes were strange, unblinking, curious. Almost fascinated. I felt anger rising like heat. But she didn't fear it. Instead, she stepped closer. Too close. She smelled of cedar and red wine. She whispered, "Relax. They'll only be here one night. You should be proud, everyone loves your land." Her hand brushed my shoulder like we were already acquainted. I didn't move. Couldn't. As the sun fell, the land changed. Fires lit up the forest. Drunk voices echoed. My beehives rattled with agitation. They could feel the intrusion too. Bees know trespassers better than people do. And yet, through all the noise, I couldn't stop noticing Karen. She moved through crowds like a conductor. She wasn't enjoying the chaos, she was studying it. Studying me. She looked at me like I was part of her plan. Later that night, I found her standing alone at the edge of my field. No music. No people. Just moonlight. She said, "They'll be gone by morning. Unless you stop them first." It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a dare. Then she gave me one more look, long, deliberate, and walked back into the crowd as if she owned it. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone on my land. And I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like it at all. I watched the fires burn deep into the night. The bees were growing restless. So was I. Something had been broken, and something else had been awakened. And it started with her smile. The night didn't settle, it sharpened. The air felt heavier the later it got, as if the earth was holding its breath. I stood near the hives and listened to the sounds of the camp. Laughter. Music. A generator humming. The land was awake when it should have been sleeping. Even my bees, usually calm after sundown, were crawling restlessly across the hive frames. They felt the invasion more deeply than I did. And I understood them. Some creatures protect themselves with words and laws. Others use stingers. By 2 a.m., half the camp was drunk. Flashlights flickered between trees like restless ghosts. Someone broke a beer bottle on a stump. Someone else shouted for more firewood. They were celebrating their trespass like it was a holiday. It was no longer ignorance. It was arrogance. And in that moment, I knew something inside me had already crossed a line. I put on my suit. Not the white beekeeper one, this time I chose black. I didn't bother with gloves. I wasn't afraid of being stung. I lifted the hive lids one by one. The bees stirred, buzzing louder than usual, like an army woken from sleep. I didn't force them out. I simply let the night open for them. The smoke stayed in its canister. I wanted clarity. Action. Nature unfiltered. The first screams rose like a signal flare. I watched light scatter in the darkness as campers swatted at their skin, running in every direction. Some thought it was a prank. Others sensed something far more real, something ancient and territorial. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I just stood there watching what the land had decided to do. Then I saw her. Karen wasn't running. She walked toward me slowly, stung across the neck and collarbone, her eyes unblinking as if each sting was a revelation. In the chaos, she looked steady. Alive. Her steps were deliberate, like she had been waiting for this moment. The bees swarmed around her, but they didn't chase her. They circled her slowly, almost gently. And she didn't break eye contact, not once. I should have been satisfied. I should have been triumphant. Instead, I felt something unfamiliar and dangerous. She stopped in front of me. She was breathing hard, but not from fear. There was something electric in her gaze. She looked at me as if she finally understood something, like a puzzle had locked into place. And when she spoke, her voice was soft, trembling, not with pain, but with need. You didn't release them for revenge, she said. You released them, for me. I didn't answer. My hands were shaking. From adrenaline, or from something darker. She stepped even closer. Every instinct told me to push her away, to leave, to lock the hives and end this night. But I didn't move. The bees kept circling her like she belonged here more than all the others. And there, in that violent, moonlit chaos, I realized something terrifying. She wasn't afraid of me at all. She was drawn to me. And that, more than any sting, was the most dangerous thing of all. When dawn finally bled through the clouds, the land looked like a battlefield. Abandoned tents flapped in the wind. Clothes, bottles, chairs, left behind like the people had escaped a war. Most of them had. The smell of smoke lingered in the air. Stings had been treated. Panic had been cleaned up. But one thing remained. Karen. She waited in the old barn at the east edge of the property. She had found it in the dark, as if she already knew where everything was. As if she had walked the land long before tonight. I didn't tell her to wait there. I didn't tell her anything. And yet she knew exactly where to go. When I walked inside, she was sitting on a hay bale, head tilted, examining the sting marks along her arm like they were constellations. The light from the broken window fell across her face. She looked neither afraid nor exhausted. She looked awake. More awake than anyone I'd ever seen. You didn't sleep, I said. She smiled faintly. I didn't want to miss you. There were officers outside, wrapping up statements. They would be leaving soon. No arrests. No charges. It was ruled a natural incident. Karen made sure of that. She spoke for me, lied for me, protected me. Why? Even as I cleaned the stings along her collarbone, gently brushing ointment across her skin, I couldn't understand her motive. But I felt it. Every breath between us said it clearly, she wasn't interested in justice. She was interested in me. She winced slightly as I touched a deeper sting near her neck. But there was something in her eyes, something hungry. Pain awakened her. Fear excited her. She looked at me the way flames look at dry wood. Like she could burn everything, if I just said yes. The silence between us felt alive, pulsing. The police radio crackled faintly outside. Soon they'd drive off. Soon it would be just us. And this was the moment, right here, where I should have asked her to leave. I should have reclaimed my solitude. My land. My life. Instead, I said the one thing I shouldn't have. You didn't deserve to suffer tonight. She stared at me with a kind of wonder. Then she whispered, but I did suffer. And that's how I knew it was real. That's how I knew you were real. She leaned closer, her voice lower, slower, almost reverent. Love should leave marks. Otherwise it's just a story. I felt my heartbeat shift. Like something long dormant had been awakened. Like the land itself was holding breath again. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She already knew. She reached for my hand. No hesitation. And when her fingers laced through mine, it wasn't soft. It was a claiming. A taking. Outside, the engine started. The last police car left the road. The land was quiet once more. But nothing was the same. The bees were calm. The air was still. Yet something darker took root that morning. The trespassers had left, but the real danger stayed. She stayed. And I let her.